Well, hello, guys. Great to have you guys here live. It's great to be with you again. I've got a special guest today, a friend that I've been friends with for a good 20 years. His name is Matt, and he's from ZMac. Hey, Matt, how are you doing today?
I'm wonderful. Couldn't be happier if I was twins, Jim.
Well, I know our ping pong game, we're pretty much on twins on that, and our golf
Mhm.
game. And plus, and the thing that we love the most is logistics. We just
Yeah,
both, you and I were both at a software conference down in Dallas, and there was like 1,100 people down there.
yeah, it was back for post-COVID. It was back. It was just nice to be back.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting because most of us are vaccinated now, and some are not. And if you're vaccinated, you can still get it. But there's only like 20 masks I saw throughout the whole convention. How about you? Did you see more or less?
I, yeah, I would say that would be the max. Now you got us being called irresponsible by everyone that's watching this. I appreciate it, Jim. I mean, no, I don't.
I didn't say that
I
for the
thought it was.
20.
I thought it was. I thought it was really refreshing. Honestly, it was refreshing to kind of.
Yeah,
It felt like we were back to normal, which I am ready for.
absolutely. And that's the main thing is how can we get back to normal? The government's talking about herd immunity. The government's talking about, Biden's trying to push through these orders to say that, if you're over 100 employees, you have to be vaccinated. If you're a nurse or a doctor, you have to be vaccinated, government workers. And now it's being spread out more. So, I mean, the government's doing everything they can possibly do in regards to that. But that's not the reason for this call today. I mean, the main
Hmm.
noticing that we're getting back to normal, which is great. And in logistics, we need to. And
Hmm.
there's been some disruptions in the supply chain. And I really want to talk to you about, what disruptions did you see during COVID? Where are you pivoting? And what are you and your team doing to really like battle this supply chain disruption that you're going through? And I'll share a little insights on my side. What do you think, Matt?
Well, I think the biggest disruption really was not so much with the business, the freight, but in how are we going to work together in an off, where are we going to go to an office? We're going to do hybrid. We're going to go people still working remotely. We had to redesign our whole thought of what culture is. And we put a lot of technology into place. We put new different, so we have people that can be at home. We have people that can work hybrid. We have people that are in the office. If they come into the office, I give them $30 a week for gas money because I want to incentivize them. Why should they come back in the office? If they don't, that's fine. But I put a number of different technology and different things in place to battle that culture after COVID, right? Because I have people that don't want to come back. And even though I wanted everyone back and I was going to be a stubborn ass about it and, say, oh, you got to come back, you got to come back. And then figured I would lose some real talented people that didn't want to and they're hitting goals remotely. Why wouldn't I lean into this and figure out if I can get a better way to train and communicate through technology instead of just what we've been doing in the past?
Absolutely. I mean, I feel you, Matt. I mean, as leaders, we were really forced to make some major decisions quickly, and we had to pivot quickly. And
Hmm.
being a larger company like we are, both you and I, we really needed to make the right decisions at the right time. And one of those was, for us, what we did is we had like time periods and another time period, another time period. There was a matter of fact, in 2020, we all came back to the office for, I think, 2 months. And then
We do
there
too.
was another outbreak. And we're
Yep.
like, all right, everybody go home. And then we set another target to say we're going to come back to the office. And what we did is we did a survey, and we're over 100 employees,
Yep.
as well as you. And when we did that survey, we started identifying what our employees really wanted, and we listened to them, and we let them make the decision if they wanted to work from home or if they wanted to come back to the office. And right now, we only have 3 offices currently, and we may even lower that down to 1 by the end. What about you guys?
Well,
How many?
so we have 4 offices, but obviously we don't have as many people in each one. But what we did is we took some of that room and we redesigned it. Like we made an auditorium now. So now when we have a company-wide meeting, or, if like lunch and learns, we do things like that, instead of everyone having to gather in an area and watch, or everyone on their computer, the people that are in the office can go to the auditorium where it'll hold, 40, 50 people, and then everyone else can log in remotely. And I have dynamic cameras in there so that if someone in the audience asks a question, it zooms in on them. And then if someone remotely asks a question, their face pops up on the Teams meeting. And we have two Surface Pros that we have in each one of these rooms, so that if we're running through a PowerPoint or whatever, we can circle things on the Surface Pro, and it all ties into this call or this live meeting, so that it feels interactive and not so isolated. The biggest problem with remote workers is that they don't feel like part of the team anymore. So we have to find a way to get them involved and get them actually feeling like part of our ZMac team again.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing we noticed too, Matt, is really identifying, what do we need to do from a cultural standpoint to really get people engaged. And, we use Teams, we use Zoom, and both of those have been huge, both for, sending texts back and forth. I think we're in 35 different states right now, and
right.
also Canada. And it really just gave us a whole new viewpoint of how business can actually be done. Before COVID, I think we had 3 people working remotely, and both from an IT perspective, setting it up so that we can do VPN or terminal services throughout our whole network. Also moving our server to the cloud, that really helped.
Yep.
At a colo location. And then really embracing that culture. So we started working on this probably 3 years in advance before COVID happened, to really handle the expansion and the growth that we knew was coming.
Well, I'll tell you a couple more things that we did just to kind of keep people involved. Is like with the Surface Pros, they're around here, but they're not always being used for meetings. So we have digital billboards, right? So that's fine. There's digital billboards and it's showing in the offices. But we also, anyone that's working remote, we're sending them a smart TV that just would log into this page, and we're going to do digital billboards so that, hey, Johnny just moved this load, and there's this many, or it was this big, and because we do over-dimensional stuff, so that they kind of know what's happening in the office, and take a picture with your pet day, or all these different things that, sure, we do them here, but getting that feeling of them being able to drop pictures into this digital billboard too, so that the remote people feel part of it as well. And then we also did a peer recognition program. So each person gets $100, and if my dispatcher does a good job for me, you can't spend $100 yourself, but you can give that $20 to the dispatcher, and then he can save it up and buy an iPad or whatever that might be. And when they do give that money, it rolls through the digital billboard so that everyone knows that that person is doing a good job, and it also reminds them to recognize their peers with the money that they have in their account. So it really is a way to just keep everyone kind of touching and collaborating together.
That's awesome. Yeah, for us, we've been doing town halls every Tuesday at 9:30 till 10. And that's just really we do some acknowledgements. We identify where the company is. We break down all the silos to really just open it up so that we have full authenticity throughout the whole company. That's a great idea, that what you did with the smart TVs and getting those out there so that you can have like a billboard going, just like we had in our physical locations.
Yeah,
we had,
exactly.
80-inch TVs all over each office, and games, the foosball, the ping pong, and you've been to our office several times, and we've been up to your office several times with our ping pong championship between each other, and then getting out and playing golf. And when we were down in Dallas, we got an opportunity to play some ping pong and do that punching game and some other foosball. It was great.
It was.
Yeah. So
it's just looking at everything differently and trying to be creative again to make sure that we're trying to maintain a culture of of togetherness instead of having 100 individuals working from their basement. You know, you want to have this feeling of collaboration, and you have to put the tools in place to be able to do it.
Absolutely. With that being said, one thing that we started doing was writing our own software last
Yeah.
year to really help, to plug in where, our ERP or TMS wasn't really helping us and really moving that forward. We put just digital dashboards in so that our team knows exactly where they're at all the time and really helped out. And now we're on doing a rating module to really help every individual at the company. They don't need to know 20 years of experience. They can really find that rating done on the bill side and the pay side, no problem, really quickly. What are some things that you guys started adapting inside your company from a software point?
Well, we've had the tool Z-Rate that we wrote for about 7-8 years now, and basically that's a tool that quotes flatbed and overdimensional freight up to 14 wide, 14 high, and gives you a current market rate on what the truck buy should be, and then they can add margin on top of it, and it shows you the permits and the escorts and all of the circuitous miles, the stuff that's very difficult to calculate manually. It allows our people to give our customers quotes instantly on overdimensional freight, where they would have had to call a carrier to get a quote on it previously. So we also developed a matching tool. So what we have is think about a 20-foot long piece that's 8 foot wide and 8 foot high. Well, that could go on a flatbed, a step deck, an RGN extendable, a dovetail. There's 20 different trailers that piece could fit on. But in my TMS, it says flatter step deck. So if I was going to match from my TMS, it would only look for flatter step decks. Ours actually looks for all 20 different types of trailers, who's delivering with one of those types, and does a tender to that person that's delivering with that trailer that you need. Now we can run through and do a waterfall, or we can have it be a call list, but there's 50 items that we'll score a carrier on. How many they've done over 10 loads in this lane. They've done, that they have a satisfactory FMC rating, FMCSA rating. All of these things that mean different things to different people. A broker can go in and put their own score on each one of those items to get the best list of carriers for the load that they're matching. That took me a while. I've been talking about it. Jim knows for 10 years I've been trying to do it, and I finally got it to where it works really, really well. But that has helped a lot, especially with tight capacity. Who the hell am I going to call for this load? How can I get it to as many carriers as I would like to as quickly as possible? So, yeah, I'm a big tech guy. I know you are too.
Yeah, I've seen both of those software packages that you rolled out, and we've had this long-lasting relationship where we even have a co-broker agreement where we've helped you and you've helped us out tremendously, and I just value that relationship that we have. And how we work together in this environment, because you're stronger at some things and we're stronger at some things, and it's great when we can really work together like that. And I think out of all the relationships I have in transportation, ours is probably the strongest. So thank you for that. I want to acknowledge.
I appreciate that, man. I do. It's been a long time. When you spend, I was just telling someone that these conventions that we go to, they're like family reunions. You get to know people for so long, and you make new friends. You talk to old friends, and it's just it's my favorite part of my job is actually doing the conventions. And I was ready for them to be back. I was really happy to be back at one.
Absolutely. That's huge. Now, talking about a tight market and abundance market, as we move forward, one thing that I'm seeing right now, and transportation's a leading, or at least 6 months out, I really see transportation being where it's at, if not growing over the next 15 months. What do you see on your side?
I see the exact same thing. The truth is we have a supply market, even like commodity rise, right? So I went to go get a new truck recently, and I go on the car lot and I'm like, where are the trucks? There's no trucks. And they go, well, we can't. I got a bunch of them sitting in Detroit, but there's no chips. So there's a microchip problem, and that causes us not to have trucks. Well, that's happening all over the supply chain where people have shut down. So all the inventory gets sucked up, and that is going to push transportation to get into a frenzy mode when people are rushing to backfill all of that lacking inventory for whatever product that might be. So I think it's going to get much busier. I think that if the infrastructure bill, and when I say infrastructure, I mean actual roads, actual bridges, infrastructure, if that part gets passed, or any part, that will be huge, especially in my segment of flatbed overdimensional. You're building roads, you're building bridges, people are getting new contracts, they're buying new equipment. It really affects the flatbed overdimensional market significantly.
Absolutely. And with this infrastructure bill, I think it's $4 billion.
That's 4 trillion, I think, with a T.
Oh, 4 trillion.
I'm like, billion. They're tossing around billions like quarters.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah. What I really think with $4 trillion of spend, I really think it's a time to go into transformational, where we create highways upon highways, where highways, how we have those express lanes, at least down here in Chicago, we do on 294. Our offices are only 100 miles apart. But I really think that they should convert all those express lanes to trucks only, from straight truck to semi, oversized, overdimensional, no like commercial vehicles. You've got to be at least 26,000 pounds or higher, not cargo vans. And really, I think that would really change the way that tort law is being done as well, because there's a lot of claims that are just going crazy because you've got these big trucks that weigh 80,000 pounds. And let's just say the average vehicle is what, 3,000 to 5,000 pounds?
Mm-hmm.
You've got, you got Goliath out there, running around with us. If we created highways just for those trucks, I really think that America would move a lot smoother. I'm not a congressman or a senator. I have a small voice, but I really think that's the way to go. What do you think about that?
I agree with you. I've thought the same thing for a long time as I'm going through Chicago or wherever. And I think about, what if it was just trucks that were in these lanes? Now, you'd have to go on the regular highway for local access, very much like the express lanes, right? There's only a few places you can get off. But I think it's such a good idea, because I drove truck too. I drove truck when I was in college and I was a mover. I know what it's like when four-wheelers try to squeeze into a tight spot right in front of you, and then they have to hit the brakes, and you got this weight behind you, and they don't track how many actually are caused by trucks. They just call them truck involved accidents, or OSHA or reportable, or there's a million different terms for what it is. I think it would be a fantastic statistic to find out how many times the truck caused the wreck, because I don't think it's very many, not near as many as obviously the involved accidents.
Yeah. And I've driven in trucks, in semi trucks before, with drivers on one of our loads, just to see what, that was like. And, these drivers drive really safe. And, we talk about shortage on chips. There's a shortage on drivers too.
Oh, yeah.
And we really need to get more and more drivers as we continue to grow as a country,
I always thought it was a big mistake that they went to having a driver in HB 21 as well. So 18-year-olds, if they go, and maybe it's a little longer training or a different type of certification, but if they get it, we're losing people in our industry, because they'll get a job in a factory or work in construction at 18. And why would they switch out of that good paying job and go to trucking at 21 or 23, really? Because you can't even hire at 21 years. Insurance company won't even let you. So by the time they're 23, they probably have a career established. And why go into trucking then?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, with the viewers out here right now, seeing that we're both here, what is one of your biggest takeaways as we enter into, we're ending this quarter and we're moving into Q4? What's the biggest takeaway that you could really just shed some light on to our listeners, to really tell them about what's going on in transportation, or what we could really see in Q4?
Well, I I think we're going to have a little bit of a loosening in Q4, just really, and it's different for my, so again, I'm a flatbed and overdimensional. November is usually our softest month, where you guys and a lot of people in van, it's the biggest month because of the Christmas rush and getting the supplies in for Christmas. So it starts probably pretty soon. Even the Christmas rush will start. But for us, we're going to see a little bit of a softening, not slow by any means, and then ramp up kind of like it has, where come mid-February it's going to just start skyrocketing, and next year is going to be, I think it's going to be even busier than this year. I really do. They're giving too much money away. People are spending money because there's money available, right? And it's not going to slow down anytime soon.
Yeah, and I agree. I mean, I see the same thing, but a little different. Once again, you're oversized, overdimensional, and we're more van and refrigerated. But as we enter, I really see Q4 really jumping up another 20%.
So I think for you, you're absolutely right. I do. I think larger commodities, right? I mean, it's right. Wintertime, you get slower traffic. It for us, it's a different dynamic, and I always have to preface it. When we have these conversations, I think you were in a session I was given, and I kind of always have to preface that, yes, I know everyone's different, but the mode that we're in really does dictate differently than what yours van and reefer would do. Just like seasonal reefer work, right? Seasonal reefer work is so different based on the season.
Absolutely. And and just like you and I, we've been preparing all year for this.
Yeah.
We move forward, and with now this Delta variant coming up, I'm seeing customers really preparing, and so that we don't run into the same thing we did back in 2020 in March and April, on where there was so much demand, the supply wasn't there. I mean, I remember going into a grocery store with rubber gloves on and a mask, going, okay, I got to go get food because my wife told me we need dinner, and I'm walking through, and the aisles were empty, and everybody was scared, like, what's going on? How bad is this COVID thing? And as that happens, I really think a lot of customers learn from that big time, because they're going to be shipping more and more just so that the supply's there, so that they don't run into the same thing. What about you? What do you think on that?
I think that, yes, you have the Delta variant. Now there's going to be the Sigma variant and the Alpha 2 variant, and it's going to go on and on and on. Just that, honestly, I feel like it's easier to control when we're scared. And I think that I'm a statistics guy. When you do software and you do this rating software stuff, like, you're looking at statistics, and I'm like, all right, there's way too many variables in their data for me to get worried. But you can see it right now. You can see the battle that's going on in our country between multiple sides. It's going to continue. People just can't get along. They just can't agree on stuff. No. That's one thing that we can agree on, is that people can't agree on stuff.
I love that. And I guess that's the music of it all. I really think that this thing's going to continue until about 2026. I really think, statistically speaking, in the history shows things like this last for about 6 years. So we'll be talking about this till 2026, and it's not going to go away. And it's just going to be a little different, a little different. Every year it'll be a little different, and hopefully it subsides pretty quickly. And I think the government's trying to do that. And
it's going to be very remarkable how it's going to dissipate right around election time. It's going to be it'll be so strange when that happens, won't it? It'll be so weird. Oh, how did that happen?
Yeah. Well, listen, Matt, I love your brother. It's always great to get together, even though we just saw each other. What was it? Okay. So, always great. Can't wait to get together again and just break bread, have a drink, go golfing, play some ping pong, some darts. You're better at darts than I am. And, let's look forward to the next time. Any last final words that you want to share with the listeners?
I appreciate it. thanks for the camaraderie this past week, and yeah, look forward to continuing to talk and work together. And I think that the biggest thing is we do all need to work together to get better, and that we're kind of that example of that, where we can bounce things off. If we did that on a much larger level as an industry, I think we'd all be better.
Absolutely. Yeah, I believe that. I mean, it all comes back to humanity. Both you and I are doing the same thing, and most would see us as competitors on a balance sheet.
Yeah.
But we're not.
Yeah.
We're all together. We're all moving freight. It might be different freight, but that's what we're up to. And we just need that humanitarian aspect. And we're all human beings, getting together, creating the same thing. Just like our group of people and your group of people get together. Your place, you've been to my place with your team. And when we go out places, we're always together. So if we continue,
I feel like you're gonna don't start kumbaya on me now, Jim. Don't be busting on the kumbaya, because I still want to get customers too. But no, I get you're 100% right, buddy. You are.
Yeah. I said, like, oh yeah, that competitor is over there. I can't talk to them. I'm gonna go like this, and I'm like, what? No, flip that around. Change that dialogue. So, and that's great. I mean, if people hear that more and more, and they can just open that up, we all do more together. We really do. So, once again, very much for joining us. I really do appreciate, who you are in this industry and who you are as a human being. So, thank you very much. Love you very much, Matt.
Same, man.
Have a great day.
You too.
Thank you, bud.
Yep. See ya.